that we need to continue to stand strong to defend everybody's rights and freedoms.
Good day, folks. How you doing today? Let's get away from this highway. Let's take a walk. Yeah, I know I haven't put out a video for a little while. It's kind of nice. I've been enjoying it. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do this one either, but figured I'd get ahead of it and add my 2 cents. Not that it matters, but you know, it makes me feel better that I actually did. Anyway, I have been paying attention a little bit to what our illustrious leader is doing these days. You know, our child minister running around the world hacking pompous and getting rejected by other world leaders. It's hilarious. Anyway, I did hear him say something though that kind of really irked me. You know, he's talking about going after the grocery stores for the increased cost of groceries. And how is he going to do that? He's going to add another tax. You know, the Liberals have always been known for the tax and spend type of government. Conservatives have been saying that for decades. They're not as bad as the NDP one to tax and spend, but this Liberal government has got it backwards. They spend and tax. They spend money and then realize, oh shoot, hey, we might have overstretched ourselves. You know, that might come back down to that, you know, budgets balance themselves idea. He's discovering that's not really true. Well, you see, why is he always after all these taxes? Well, it's because Canada's running out of revenue. You know, we're losing businesses regularly. People are foreclosing on mortgages. They're running out of money. Canadians can't afford to do anything anymore. Oh, sure, if you work for the government, you make a decent salary. But let me ask you something. Where does that salary come from? The taxpayers. The everyday Joes like myself and yourself. We pay for this. Oh, we got to be politically correct. Right. Everyday Joe and Janes. Oh, give me a break. You know very well what I mean. So they decided they're going to tax grocery stores if they don't lower prices. You know, I've been holding this one into my back pocket for a while now, waiting for the next carbon tax jump to kind of talk about it. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now because I want to talk about this carbon tax. You see, this government, it's always like, you know, oh, look, we're doing this for you. No, you're not. You're doing it for yourself to pad your own coffers because you can't afford the shit that you're doing. Because anybody with half a brain says, if you tax the grocery stores, where's that money going to come from? Think about that for a minute. Where is the grocery store going to get the money to pay the tax that the government wants to add on there? Think about it. Think really hard. You know, this is complex. You might want to come up with you might want to really think this one through. If you're a liberal, I'm sure everyone else is already going, hello, carry on. They're going to raise prices. Like this isn't rocket science, people. This is the way it's done. You know, companies make money. They use that money to offset their expenses and create profit. If you interfere with the profit, then they need to raise prices to offset the new tax that you're going to give them. So how do they do that? They only have one way of doing it. That's raising prices. It's Government isn't here to help us. There isn't one government in the world that's there to help the people. They claim to be, but they're not here to help. So anyway, I said I was going to talk about carbon tax. So let's drag this back to the carbon tax. Let's prove how inept governments are. Actually, not inept. They're actually very skilled at manipulating people to get what they want. Okay? Let's talk about that. How does the government manipulate people to get what they want? Well, let's take carbon tax. Let's discuss it. Matter of fact, I've been dealing with carbon tax from the second I pushed record on this video. You've been watching carbon tax in action. See, the government says we need to save the environment. Our CO2 emissions, we're producing 500 million tons. Well, 5.5. We're gonna be generous because this was a 2001 study. We're gonna be generous. We're gonna say Canada produces 600 million tons of CO2 every year, and we need to tax that. Okay, we need to tax that into oblivion because Canada can't afford to produce this kind of carbon tax, this carbon for the future environment and climate change. Canada is gonna show the world how it's done. Okay, we're gonna charge $65 a ton. $65 a ton. And you can see that through everything. The inflation in groceries, because the cost of fuel has gone up. And the carbon tax on everything. You can see that every time you go to the gas pump, because they added a second carbon tax to the gas pumps. So you have to pay more. Currently here in North Bay, it was $1.79 a liter last night when I got fuel, or this morning. Then the government, virtue signals say, we got to do this. We're doing this for the environment. And it's so important that we do this for the environment. But Winmore, you said the carbon tax has been in action the whole time since you started this video. What are you talking about? You're walking. You're not paying any tax. No, I didn't say I was paying tax. I said, look around me. Look at the carbon tax that's happening all around me. Okay? Look everywhere. Everything green you see on the screen right now is paying the carbon tax for Canadians. Every single green item, this leaf, is paying carbon tax. It is dealing with the carbons that Canadians produce. This is why Canada has such a robust, wild nature to it. You get into Canada and you discover there's so much wilderness in Canada. Did you know Canada has 318 billion, that's billion with a B, trees. Just trees. Just trees. And do you know every single one of them trees consumes approximately 48 pounds of CO2 a year? Now the government likes to manipulate it and talk about, they tell you pounds per year for a tree. And then they say, well, we're producing 6 billion or 600 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. Metric tons, just to confuse you. Because people don't want to go do the math and figure it out and all that jazz. Well, I saved you the trouble. I went and did it myself. Did you know just the trees, Not this grass, not those ferns, and not even those raspberry bushes. Just the trees alone consume over 7 billion, with a B, tons of carbon dioxide per year in Canada. 7 billion. But we're producing 500 million. Well, a little over 500 million. So that means we are consuming 7 times, nearly 14 times as much carbon dioxide as we are producing here in Canada. But yet, the government says we need to pay $65 a ton for our carbon dioxide for what we produce. But you see, as a Canadian, these are my trees. I'm consuming it. I'm consuming the CO2 every single day I come out here and ensure the longevity of this forest. Every day I come out here and breathe this fresh air and produce a little bit of carbon dioxide myself for these trees, for that fern. But don't worry, Canada and its most aggressive carbon tax plan in the entire world will give it back to the people. But that's not true either. You see, when you said you'd give it back to the people, you didn't mean all of it. Matter of fact, you're not even giving back 50% of what you're taking in. This is merely a cash grab for the government of Canada to offset its own ineptability to balance the budget. They have so many boutique tax giveaways, you know, whether that be to special interest groups or anything. Look at the little turtles on the log. Isn't that cool? I want that picture. There we go. So the next time you fuel up at the gas station and you're going, holy mac, I can't afford to do anything, or you go to the grocery store and discover prices are so outrageous that you can't survive in this world, in this Canada. There's only one person to blame for this. You know, and as much as he tries to virtue signal that he's here for you, what has he done really? He stripped Canada of all its wealth. He's destroyed the camaraderie of Canadians by making us turn on each other. It's part of the reason why I don't do videos anymore. I'm just so done being angry all the time. He's stripped away our healthcare system. So now there's no faith in the healthcare system. He stripped away our trust in our policing services by arresting people for protesting. Now they call it an occupation, but you know, it is what it is. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling into different topics here, but I kind of had a lot of things on my mind lately. With Tamara Leach on trial and everything, there's one thing that stood out to me so far in that trial. It's one little statement by an officer that I think makes the biggest... It makes you see exactly who Trudeau is, who this government is, and who these government employees are. You see, they call us an occupation. But the whole time that we were in Ottawa, we were trying to stay in front of the Parliament buildings. And I showed many videos showing that we were held back into the residential areas. We were held back there. And then this officer said in court last week, he was told by his superiors to not give us an inch. From day one, they told us, do not give them an inch. So they held us back in the residential areas just to manipulate the residents of Ottawa to try and create a wedge and say that they're doing something for us. Oh, these horrible truckers, they're occupying our city. No, we're not. We wanted to occupy Parliament. That's why we went there. That's why I was there. Occupy is such a weird word. I don't know why I said I went there to occupy. I didn't really go there to occupy. I went there to protest my government's overreach. I went there to protest for the right of Canadians to be free in their own country and make their own choices. I don't care whether you're in favor or you're against. It's irrelevant to me. Those are your choices, not mine. Yours. And you have no right to make your choice my choice. And that's what I went to Ottawa for. But they refused to give us an inch. And that's the hallmark of the Liberal Party of Canada. Is that no matter what happens, they will manipulate Canadians into believing their farce, their lies, to get what they want. Excuse me. Yeah. Anyway. So, to wrap it up, this carbon tax, or this grocery tax, is no different than anything else. This government is inept. It can't figure out how to get out of any problem it creates. And the only solution it can ever come up with for any problem that they ever create is to tax. How is that a solution? A leader leads by example. A leader does everything in their power to support. This is going to be a horrible word, but they're underlings. I don't believe I'm under Trudeau. I think we're equal. But that's the mindset. That's what a leader does. They do everything in their power for the people under them to prosper. A true leader. If you ever had a crappy boss who led by dictating, you notice he has a huge staff overturn. Their staff is constantly turning over, constantly changing. They can't maintain a solid staff. And that is what this government is. But a true leader leads. He goes, finds out, what's the problem? Okay, how can we find a solution to this problem so that the company can do better? Or whatever. The sports team can do better. This is a leader. They don't dictate. They solve problems. This government doesn't know how to do that. All they know how to do is, well, I said this, so you need to do this, or I'm going to tax you. Well, no, that's not the answer, because the ramification of your action is not thought through. Because now you're taking one problem and you're creating another problem, and it just keeps snowballing. The problems keep getting worse. The problems keep getting bigger. Because everything is integrated together. You know, you open up the borders to, what was it, 500,000 newcomers to Canada per year. Okay, but we don't have the housing for that. So then our housing rates go up. What, you think they're going to come here and build the houses? Well, that's a possibility. But first they got to get here. They got to have somewhere to stay. They have to figure out the regulations here in Canada. And then they have to build the house. All that time, we're running out of houses. So the housing market, like any supply and demand, goes out of control. Goes absolutely nuts. My crappy old house, built in 1952, piece of crap house that it is, my bank turned around and told me, oh, well, in the market right now, that house is worth between $350,000 and $400,000. 5 years ago, I bought the damn thing for $179,000. This is insanity. In 5 years, I've more than doubled the price of my house. How? Because there's nowhere for anyone to live. Because you increased the immigration. Now we got college and university kicking in these days. Oh my God, I'm at 21 minutes. College and university kicked in, okay, at the beginning of September. All these international students came to Ontario. Well, they came across Canada, but here in North Bay, we have a major college and a major university here. Okay. I picked up the Sunday before Labor Day. I picked up this girl at the bus terminal. Okay. She just arrived here from India. She says to me, she's going to a motel where she's going to stay for a couple weeks. And she asks me, how is the housing costs? The student housing costs here in North Bay. And I just looked at her and went, you came all the way to Canada, to North Bay, and you don't have a house yet? I said, boy, oh boy, are you in for a shock. The average one-bedroom apartment in North Bay right now is $1,500 a month. Okay? It's $1,500 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. If you want to rent a room, that's $800 a month. How? Because there's no room for anybody. So then we have this huge protest at the college where the international students have set up tents in front of the college saying, you promised us housing. So now this college has promised to get all their students housing in North Bay before, I think it was the end of October, maybe October 15th. I can't remember the exact date. Before this date, before winter kicks in. So now this college is going to be paying extraordinary rates, driving up the rates of rentals in North Bay for people that live in North Bay year round. Start families here. Not students that just come for the winter and go back in the summer. This is the cost of living impacts this government creates. Oh man, I have a lot of pent up videos all in this one. But I don't want to do videos very often anymore, so this is kind of to be expected. This is my latest rant and carrying on. I can't understand. Okay, I sort of understand. People are too busy in their own lives to pay attention to what this government is actually doing. Too busy trying to make ends meet to spend time talking about politics. So many people turn around and say, well, I don't pay attention to politics because it's nothing but bullshit and all you're doing is fighting one another. And they're not wrong. That's all we do. That's all we've been doing. That's why I don't want to do this anymore. Because I really don't want to be fighting all the time. But the ineptitude, we need to call out the ineptitude. But how do we call out the ineptitude and the farce with people that don't understand politics, that aren't paying attention to the threads that tie everything together? I don't understand. How do we do this? Because currently, all I do, and since I left the convoy, all I do is talk to people that agree with me. Except for when I'm at work. I actually had, this is going to be another little story. I'm sorry this is so long, but I'm kind of, what is this at? 25 minutes. I had, one night, I had 4 nurses in the back of my cab. And they turn around. Forget how it came about. I was talking about medical issues that I have. And they're like, oh, well, you should go get that fixed. And I said, yeah, why? Well, you know, it could save your life. And I said, yeah, but why do I want to live longer? And they're like, well, you know, just for your family and I. I'm like, yeah, but my family understand that life is finite. So when my life comes to an end, new life can be produced. There's space for them. I've lived for a long period of time. I have no problem. If my time comes up, my time comes up. It is what it is. It's no big deal to me. So to go in, spend hundreds of $1,000s worth of medical treatments to deal with lung cancer or whatever, for choices I've made, well, why don't I just deal with the consequences of my own choices? Yeah, I think it was about smoking. I think that's what the conversation was about. Sorry, I forgot my belt. Have to adjust. Yeah, I think it was about smoking. I think I coughed and I said, oh, don't worry, it's just a smoker cough, don't worry about it. And they were like, you know, you can deal with that. Yeah, but why? And it also comes down to, you know, I thought it was my life to live. I didn't realize, I don't want to walk through that. That's just mud. I really don't want to walk through that. But that's where the path goes. No, I'm not going through that. This is all goo. I said, this is my life. At what point did it stop becoming my life and become some doctor's or some nurse's or someone else's to dictate? Isn't that what a free society is about? Is you get to live your life. You live with your consequences. I live with mine. If you choose to want to live forever, well, then that's your choice. I'll tell you right now, Mother Nature will see to it that that won't happen. But that's neither here nor there. That's your choice. You can aspire to that. It's like an old adage I used to say. Why save for retirement that you never know will come? Why not enjoy your life each day in the moment of that day? What are you trying to preserve? Yeah, okay, it goes back to your family, your inheritance, but did you truly live if all you did was work and save? Whose life did you live? Was it yours or was it your employer's? I have a lot of, I'm sorry this has been so rambly. It's kind of a lot of things that go through my head on a regular basis. And the great thing about walking around in the bush is they just kind of roll around and start spewing out. That's why I do my videos like this. Great way to think. Walk around in the bush and think. Oh yes, I went on my annual camping trip And do you know what one of the best things of the whole trip was? I never pulled my camera out and made one video. Not one. It was fantastic. I loved it. I just spent time with the family. It was great. Did a bunch of hiking. Did some swimming. Did some off-roading. Just lived. It was great. Drank my annual intake of alcohol. Because, well, I only drink once a year. And that's because I can't sit around a campfire without a beer in my hand. It was fantastic. Whole family had a great time. Anyway, I'm babbling on. And now we're backtracking, so I'm going to wrap this up. I know it's been a while. Who knows? It may be a while again. I don't know. I'm tired of talking to an echo chamber. And I'm tired of being angry and trying to point fingers. I just want to live my life the best way I can in the current situation, but it is what it is. I did my sacrifice for Canada. It's time for someone else. Northern Perspectives is kind of interesting, although they're getting a little clickbaity, but I like their conversations. It's interesting to me. It's kind of cool to see them on Clyde do anything. Anyway, yeah, I'm just babbling. I got nothing else to say. Well, I probably do, but we're just dragging it out now. Welcome to the Fringe, everybody. And remember, as you pay your carbon tax, Canada is here already sucking it out for you, and 14 times all the Canadians around the world. So, thanks, Trudeau. Can't wait to see what boutique tax you got for us next. Welcome to the... Welcome to the Fringe.